Hi everyone, this is Ali Hussein Kasim. Welcome to my weekly roundup of tech news across Africa. Today I'm going to cover 4 key interesting stories that have happened in the tech ecosystem. Number one is Flutterwave's announcement of expansion into India. The second is AfDB's, that's Africa Development Bank's, announcement of a $1 billion fund for technology startups across Africa. Number 3, I'm going to cover a story that appeared in the Business Daily in Kenya about a number of Kenyan startups that are allegedly in trouble after raising a total of 34 billion shillings in funding. Last but not least, we are going to speak about Safaricom's launch of their standing order functionality in the Safaricom product. So let's kick off with Flutterwave's announcement of its expansion into India and its importance to Flutterwave's growth, Flutterwave's future, and of course, what the founder and CEO, GB, talked about a couple of months ago when he announced plans to list Flutterwave on the NASDAQ through an IPO. Indian diaspora is the largest diaspora of any nationality in the world, more than 30 million Indians. In Africa alone, those are about 3 million Indians who regularly send money to India back home. What's the importance here? The importance, number one, is first cementing GB's global expansion strategy. That is interesting, considering the fact that just a few months ago, Flutterwave was sort of in the news for all the wrong reasons. Seems like that PR has turned around. It's continuing to turn around. And that's congratulations to the team at Flutterwave. What's the impact? The impact, in my humble opinion, sort of cements the lofty valuation that Flutterwave had, or maybe continues to still have. At the end of 2023, Flutterwave's valuation, according to its investors who are mostly VCs, you can debate this until kingdom come. The fact of the matter is that valuation still stands. We are talking about a valuation of $3 billion. If you want to take that into perspective, think about the largest bank in Nigeria today, where Flutterwave was founded. The largest bank in Nigeria's valuation, last time I checked a couple of weeks ago, was $1.7 billion. So, all the best to the Flutterwave team as they launch their expansion into the Indian subcontinent. I want now to pay attention, a little bit of attention on the announcement by the Africa Development Bank, AfDB, of the launch of a $1 billion fund for startups across Africa. Look, guys, if you followed me, if you've heard me talk about this issue, you know where my heart is. And the fact of the matter is that Africans must start funding their own startups. Otherwise, we are slowly finding ourselves in what I call the Berlin conference moment in Africa, in the tech ecosystem, where basically what this means is that most of the startups that are of any matter in Africa are now basically owned by foreigners, VCs, pension funds, high net worth individuals out of this continent. So this is a step in the right direction as far as AfDB is concerned, and this should be something that then anchors organizations like the African Union to be able to say this is a right example. Let's coalesce around this idea and let's have a target. Here's my target for you, African Union: $100 billion fund for African tech startups within the next 2 to 3 years. Let me repeat that. That's my challenge to the African Union. $100 billion fund for tech startups across Africa, raised through African sovereign funds, through your members, and managed professionally by investment professionals within Africa. that's my challenge. I want now to pay attention to the story from the Business Daily, and interestingly titled, Puzzle of Kenyan Startups in Trouble After 34 billion shilling funding. The story starts with at least 8 Kenyan-born tech startups have closed down in the past 2 years, while another one appears distressed despite having raised close to 35 billion in investor funding in total, dampening hopes of the country's achieving its Silicon Savannah dream. Guys, let's not have such dramatic stories. Fact of the matter is, probably in the tech ecosystem, 1 to 3 out of 10 startups will actually succeed. And when they do, they succeed big. And that's an average that you can take into any other industry. That's one. But for me, I think the most important thing belies my earlier point about the African Development Bank launch of the $1 billion fund for African tech startups. Here's a thought. If these companies are really in trouble, some of them may be potentially going down. I mean, Kune has already gone, so that's really out. Brick, I'm not so sure where Brick is right now. Sky Garden, I believe there was an acquisition. Sandy, still a very viable business. WeFarm, Twiga, I don't know why even Twiga is actually in this list. Twiga is a solid business today and will probably be undervalued. Here's an opportunity for value investors to come in and actually save these companies, if you may allow me to use this word. Guys, the fact of the matter is the investing in tech is still sort of a black box. And we need to continue to remove the mystery around this. And probably this is something that I've discussed with some of my colleagues. I think the reporting as far as tech matters are concerned in this country, and probably in Africa in general, needs to improve tremendously. So instead of puzzle of Kenyan startups in trouble after 34 billion shilling funding, how about opportunity to invest in some of these startups that are still very, very viable? My other story revolves around Safaricom's launch of Mpesa's new standing order. Well, simply, this model, this new product, this new service, or if you want to call it function within Mpesa, has come at an opportune moment when internet businesses, digital businesses are expanding across Africa. And one, software as a service, is becoming more and more of a critical one. And this particular service by Mpesa should start giving Mpesa more market share when it comes to payments, because Mpesa did not have this functionality before. So, for example, if you go to in-app purchases, you are using Google Pay, you can't use Mpesa Express because that's disabled. You can't do subscriptions with that. But now, with this, that should see a sea change on how we pay for subscriptions online. This is a fantastic new application by Mpesa. I say better late than never, because this is something that should have happened some time back. So, good people, that's my weekly roundup for this week. I look forward to more engagement and more conversation with you guys. The weekly roundup has sort of been off air for a couple of weeks because of, and I say this in quotes, summer holidays. We were away with family for a couple of weeks, but now we are back in the full swing of things. So keep it here. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube and Spotify channels. Of course, if you're using Apple products, Apple Podcasts, and so on and so forth. Thank you, guys. Keep it here. Let's talk again next week. Asanteni sana.